until 10 a.m. Friday. A reinforcing shot of Arctic air will allow temperatures to track.
Hey YouTubers, this is Garrett again with another video. Today's video we're going to be changing out the transmission oil in a 1999 Dodge Dakota. This particular Dakota has the AX15 5-speed manual transmission. The tools you're going to need is a 24mm socket. You're going to need 3 quarts of 7590 gear oil. You're going to need a drain pan to capture your old oil. And you're going to need some kind of a siphon in order to get the oil out of the bottle. I'll also give you an alternative method later in the video if you don't have a siphon. The reason you need a siphon is because the space between the frame and the drain plug is only about that wide, and it's really hard to squash these bottles up in between there and get all the oil out of the bottle, so a siphon makes that a lot easier. Here's the drain plug for the transmission. You want to park your truck on an incline so that it's on the passenger side of the vehicle. So you want to park the truck on an incline so that the passenger side of the vehicle is lower than the driver's side. You can also just jack up the driver's side a little bit so that this is the lowest point of the transmission, so you get as much of the old oil out as possible. This is where the 24mm socket comes in handy. You can use a 24mm wrench that has a boxed in end. But you can't really use an adjustable wrench because this little flange gets in the way, kind of makes it difficult. This is your fill port. You know it's the fill port because it's on the opposite side of the transmission from the drain plug, and also because it's higher up on it. You notice the drain plug is way down at the bottom. Your fill plug is about halfway up the transmission. Another reason to have this one on the high ground as compared to the drain plug is because it takes exactly 3 quarts to fill up to that fill port, supposedly. So by putting it at an angle, you're going to kind of cause your oil to settle to the right, and you won't have any of it come running out on you prematurely. So basically what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to crawl under the vehicle. I just drove it a total of about 10 miles to give the oil a chance to warm up. So I'm going to go ahead and crawl under it while the transmission oil is nice and warm. I'm going to drain the old oil. I'm going to give it 2 or 3 minutes at least to drain. I'm going to take a look at it, and once it gets down to a very slow drip or just stops altogether, I'll go ahead and put the drain plug back in, and we'll fill it up with new oil. So there's one more side note I want to include. With this 7590 oil, you need to be careful which 7590 oil you pick. I've learned a very expensive but valuable lesson. In this AX15 transmission, because it contains soft yellow metals like brass and the synchronizers, you want to make sure that the 7590 oil is either GL3 rated, or if it's GL4 or GL5, you want to make sure that it specifically states that it is non-corrosive to soft yellow metals. So we're going to go ahead and crawl under here and get the old oil started draining. Where to put my ratchet? Did I hold it around the other side? Yes, I did. That part's getting edited out because I just lost my ratchet.
Is it in the truck seat?
There it is, under the vehicle already.
I like how you're just like giving a big view of your ass.
Yeah, I see that.
Who knows, it might make more views.
Ow! There it goes.
So I'm guessing it's a lot easier with a ratchet and socket.
Yeah. Well, this is a big 1/2-inch ratchet too, so it's got a longer handle. Now you want to make sure before you take this drain plug completely out, you want to have your drain pan way over here, because when it first starts, it's going to shoot out of the transmission. So you want to catch all of it. And there we go. Now it's going to catch all of it, and it's still sitting directly under it, so it's going to take a few minutes. Now here's something else you want to take a look at. The inside of your drain plug is magnetic. So if you have a whole crap ton of metal shavings and residue stuck to the back side of this, you may want to take maybe an indication of some transmission wear. A little bit of it's fine, but just a little side note there. Alright, so the oil's been drained, the drain plug has been replaced. We're about to fill it back up, and I just wanted to show you why it's handy to have a hand pump if you're going to use the side fill port on the transmission, because these bottles, you can't really invert them up in here because of the other stuff that's up in here in the way. So the hand pump makes it easy to get all of the fluid all the way down to the bottom of the bottle into the transmission. Now there is a second option for filling your transmission up without using the fill port if you don't have a hand pump. Come in here, take all your crap out of your console. This will lift up. If it resists, just kind of wiggle it because there's a little snap up here. Alright. You've got a rubber floor plate there with some hex bolts in it. You take out all of those little hex screws all the way around. This rubber floor plate will come up. It won't come off the transmission, but it will slide up and out of the way. And then you've got 4 bolts in the top of the transmission. They're somewhere between, I think they're 13 millimeter, but I'm not certain. But they're somewhere in that neighborhood. You remove those 4 bolts and your whole gear shift will lift out of the top of your transmission, and then you can just pour your gear lubricant right down in the top of your transmission. That's another way to fill it if you don't have a hand pump. Alright, so I tried to be all fancy and do things properly and use a hand pump on the fill port. Fuck a bunch of that. That's all I gotta say. Alright, I'm gonna show you guys here how to do this the easy way. This is an 8mm socket. Alright, I know I mentioned this a second ago, but I'm actually going to show you here. This is an 8mm socket. Take out all these little guys. Alright. Alrighty, so once you got all of these little 8mm screws in here, this guy will just lift up and out of here. When you lift it up, pay attention to its orientation. There's going to be 2 little cutouts that line up with these tab holders for the console. Make sure that you put it back in that same position. Alright, this will not come off without ripping that rubber, so pay attention to that. Alright, just kind of lift up on it to get it out of the way. Now you see here you've got 4 screws here. These are, wherever it went here somewhere, there it is. These are 13mm bolts. Alright, well those might be 12mm. Let me check here. Correction, those are 12mm bolts. Alright, there's 4 of them on each corner. You take those 4 out and your gear shift will lift up and out of here. Beneath the gear shift you will find 2 little gaskets that just kind of sandwich in between it. You will also see the bottom end of the gear shift is just a ball that sets in a little cup. When you put the gear shift back in, you want to make sure that you put that ball back in the cup and that it's oriented properly. I'll record that here in a little bit. Alrighty, like I said, I got those 4 bolts out. Your whole gear shift will just pick up out of here. Alright, you want to be careful to keep that ball right there clean. So just kind of set it here to the side, somewhere where it's not going to get a ton of dirt on it. And lift these little gaskets here. There's 2 of them. They're usually just kind of sandwiched together. I'm just going to lay them on this trash magazine over here. That'll keep them clean. You know, you just don't want to get any dirt and grime on it. And that right there is the top of your transmission. This little ball from your shifter sits in right there and slide this guy around, and that's what shifts gears for you. Alright, I'm not going to stick my finger in there because my finger's kind of dirty. But now, instead of screwing around with hand pumps that I can't seem to get to work, and inadequate space between the frame and the fill plug, here's what we're going to do. Alright, look at there. Woohoo! There she blows. Takes you about 10 minutes to get the floor plate out. You know, so allot yourself that long to to take the floor plate out and to get the gear shift out, because the gear shift itself is only 4 bolts, but that floor plate, it's got like a dozen screws around it, so it's gonna, it takes you a little while. I'm gonna let that one drain. That one's kind of thick oil. Heck of a lot thicker than that old stuff I took out. Alrighty. We got 2 more bottles here. Let's get the tripod set up because I don't feel like holding the camera no more. Bam, YouTube channel number 2 going right next door here, Sidewinder 3.9L. Doing oil changes in his F-150. Yeah, must be nice to be able to crawl down inside your engine bay.
Not exactly whenever you got to have arms like a goddamn orangutan to get down in there.
Alright, we're going to set you guys right, y'all. Alright. And angle this guy a little better. There we go. And focus. Bam. I'm using Royal Purple because it was the only 7590 I could find in the store that specifically stated that it will not hurt soft yellow parts like synchronizers. So, this is not a commercial for Royal Purple. I'm just showing you this oil because, well, this is what I'm using because it won't hurt my synchronizers. Thank you to the guys on the DodgeForum.com for pointing out that the Valvoline full synthetic 7590 with friction modifier does hurt synchronizers. They recommended Synchro Mesh to me. The Synchro Mesh seemed to work fine as a lubricant as far as just keeping things working, I guess. But two things I noticed with the Synchro Mesh as opposed to the 7590. Number one, I noticed that it got the transmission was noticeably hotter after driving it for a little while. And number two, it was noticeably rougher shifting. When I had the Valvoline 7590 in it, it was like a brand new truck. It was like butter. And when I put that Synchro Mesh in there that they recommended to me, it was I mean, it wasn't like there was nothing in there, but it was noticeably, there was some noticeable friction when you shifted. So, but anyway, you guys get the point. This is quart number 2. Putting everything back together is pretty much the reverse of taking it apart. So yeah, y'all have a good. So, this has been another video. This one's, if you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions, feel free to post them in the comment section below. And yeah, y'all have a good one. Garrett went out.